can Cardfight Vanguard could improve. This is a really amazing game. I really like this game. I've been playing it for a very long time. And honestly, now I think it's in the best position it has ever been probably since G. But there are still some things that I think could be improved on, and maybe some players could also help on that. So yesterday, as I already mentioned before, I had a kind of terrible experience in locals where I couldn't really do anything because of basically just one card. And yeah, I will be talking about those kind of issues now. So why this video? Just in case there's anyone watching or interested on if maybe this just helps people understand better how this game works or how it could be improved. I don't know, it's just entertaining, I suppose. But also mainly because I just really love this game. It's something I have been doing for very, very, very long time, and I honestly would like to see this game growing way more than it has been right now, which actually I think it has been growing a lot. There's been an increased community presence, and also I've seen some VTubers trying to stream a lot. I think they have a lot of audience, and maybe the game is reaching more people now. So I just really want this game to be better, and this is just my naive comment maybe, but hopefully some people may understand. So Vanguard has basically three formats. The first one is the premium format, which is basically the very old version of the game that includes the G units and G guardians and everything that was released after G era. It's basically a mess, but it's kind of fun actually. A lot of people like it. It doesn't have a lot of presence in Japan, but abroad, especially the English format, it's pretty popular, I believe. The next format is the V Premium format. So when G started getting out of hand, power creep was getting very high. Basically, the game was reset. And what was created after that was the V Premium format. And with V Premium, there was a mechanic that was basically imaginary gifts. And this mechanic itself was fine, I suppose, but it got out of hand very quickly as well. Many decks were super broken, and it was actually not so fun at certain point. Currently, I think this is the least supported format by G-Road, and also V Premium was itself only including the cards after the reset. Now, every card that was released after G era would be available to be used in the specific format and also in the premium format. And finally, after V Premium got out of hand, we get the Overtrigger format. And basically, this format is pretty fun. I like it a lot. However, it still has some issues. So yeah, I will be talking mainly concentrating on standard format. So yeah. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about tournaments. I think pricing, it's fine, I suppose. It's not as good as other card games. But one of the biggest issues I think there is with this game is the rounds. And like, it's just one round per person. So if you lose the first game, that's it for the match. So yeah, other games, I believe they have like 2 out of 3. And I think it gives better chance for people to have more experience with their decks. So Dragon Master of Evil, hey, welcome to the stream. I wonder if the format's gonna get a wee bit overboard and then game get a third reboot. Yeah, well, I don't know actually. I'm gonna address that kind of issue in a moment, but I think that is a kind of good point to be concerned about, But so far, I think the D format is in a very healthy state. There's many decks that are viable right now, and there are many interesting and fun mechanics. So maybe it could get out of hand, but it probably depends a lot on Bushiroad. So yeah, anyways, going back on to the tournaments part, I would like to talk about this a little bit more. However, I think there's other channels here that have better information about it, like Different Fight or World Class Card Fighters. I think they have very good takes on this, and I don't want to talk too much about this point now because I maybe don't have too much experience with other card games. I mainly just play Vanguard. But what I really do want to talk about is about the product. And the first thing is the promo cards. I think it's a terrible idea to include very useful cards that increase the power for one or many decks as promo cards, because that just makes them very expensive and very difficult to obtain for a lot of people. And honestly, most of the time these promos are very necessary for some decks to actually function correctly. And other thing is, normally these promos are released in Japan at some point, and then after a very long time they get released in the English format. So yeah, in Japan, again, they get very expensive, they're hard to obtain, and in the English format, I think the English format is extremely expensive as well, or at least it's getting more expensive every time. For example, now the Mega Colony Battler Type C, this card, you can have up to 16 cards in your deck, and many people want to have 16 cards, and it's so annoying to obtain this card, and I believe it's also kind of expensive in the English format. So yeah, that's just not good for a lot of people, especially if you want to try one deck, if you are interested in playing some specific deck. Promo cards shouldn't be like this. I think this should be included in the main product. And yeah, this is kind of like a different view of what I think could be helpful for this game in the case of the promo cards. First, promos should be or must be better if they were only reprints of useful cards, something that people actually some cards that people actually are seeking a lot, like staples or cards that are maybe just alternate arts of another card, like maybe not main Vanguard, but some alternate cards of common or rare cards, or also commemorative cards, something that maybe just obtainable during these promo events or during the shop challenge or something, and they maybe not have a high impact in game. So yeah, I don't play the IRL TCG, so I don't really know too much about the promo stuff. I kind of just thought they come in booster packs. And yeah, actually, sometimes actually in the English format, they introduce some of these promo cards in the booster boxes, but they are also as promo. Very rarely, they are included as part of a main set. I think one example of a card that was included in a main set was Valkyria. It was very expensive as a promo after it was introduced in a set. I think it was Festival Booster. It got a little bit cheaper, but I think, yeah, promo cards should be part of a specific set at least. Either a main set or like one kind of side set. But the way they are right now, they're super expensive most of the time, and the biggest problem is they are very useful for many decks. So if you want to get them, you have to really search a lot, and most of the time they're going to be very expensive cards. So yeah, some of these promos are part of the festival boosters. I believe so. In the festival booster 2024, I think they included some promo cards. I believe so. If not, it was included in another card. But yeah, that made some of them kind of cheaper. One example of these cards is as I mentioned, Valkyria, and I think it's probably right now the only one I can think about, but probably there were some more. I mean, well, Sergon, yeah, actually, yes, Sergon is a very useful card for many decks in the Keter Sanctuary, and especially Luard uses it, and Raziel. I think it was banned for maybe for Luard, I believe now, but it's very very strong, at least in the English format. And Orc, hey, welcome! Thank you for the raid. How you doing? It's been so long. Uh, Thanks so much. Wow, there's 15 people. Thank you so much. Well, guys, welcome to the stream. Actually, today is not so not so big stream. I'm just talking about my takes on this game, and I am just giving some ideas on how it could be improved. So yeah, if you guys have any input or any other ideas, something that's missing, I would very much appreciate if you please comment on the on chat. Also, I will be uploading this to YouTube after I finish. So yeah, feel free to stick around. Thank you so much. And Org, I miss you. Hey, I miss you too. It's been so long since I could stream. My connection is always very bad, so right now I try to go a little bit more into the YouTube side. But yeah, I'm so happy to have you around. I would like a lyrical stride deck. Yeah, that's probably you're gonna obtain the stride decks for lyrical, most likely. But anyways, guys, welcome to stream. Orc, I'm so happy to see you again. So yeah, hope everyone can enjoy a little bit of my stream. So as I was talking about, now I'm talking about the promo cards and maybe some ideas of how they could be worked around to just make it better for people to obtain the promo cards. And now I will move on to the rarities. And for rarities, this is probably one of the most difficult parts, actually, because maybe many people may have very different takes. But my take here is I believe very very strongly that triple rares, especially generic cards, should not be triple rares. Now, hear me about this one. Usually, the triple rare slot is maybe for one or two cards related to a right line, a new right line usually, maybe the main Vanguard and a support card. And maybe one slot is for a generic card. The problem is that usually this generic card is very very good, and most of the time this card is going to support almost every single deck from that nation. Now, as an example, I used here Brainwash Swirler, which on release was extremely expensive. Now it got some reprints and now it's a little bit more affordable. And also Brainwash is not part of the meta right now, like at least not so strong. It doesn't have a strong presence right now. And another card is the Discard, which is the discard fodder, because these cards are always being necessary for almost every single deck. And another example here is the Brandgate Baldarade, sorry for the name, which also it's supporting a lot of decks. And now for example, Dragon Master here has is saying like he's all about triple rares for as generics. That's fine. Yeah, that's why I say like maybe it's gonna maybe people has different takes. The problem is again, the problem here is that because these generic cards are triple rare, they are harder to get, and most of the time also they're more expensive. So if let's say you wanted to increase the amount of people that plays this game, maybe having generic cards that are not so expensive would be just really good. So that way people can just buy the right line they want and easily find the cards that are actually useful for their deck, even if the main support cards or the direct support for the right line is not so accessible. At least they may have a better experience by trying at least a big part of their deck doing what it can make or what it may be able to do. So, and also another issue is most of the time commons and rares tend to be not so good. I really have a big pile of commons and rares that I've never used, and most of them I haven't even read them because they're not so useful. And I think that's fine. It's okay for card games to have cards that are not so useful. I think there's many videos talking about that. However, I think that slot can be used for these generic cards which maybe as commons, it's okay if they're not commons, but rares and double rares could be good spots for these ones. So why not instead just leave the triple rare and double rare slots mostly for direct support for older ride lines or for new ride lines. Actually, right now Vanguard has a lot of ride lines. It has a lot of very different and interesting mechanics, and some of these ride lines are left behind a lot. I think Bushiroad is trying to include some support in form of commons and rares actually for those old ride lines. However, by including triple rares and double rares as the generic cards, it just makes it very difficult and kind of expensive for people to access. Isn't there like 100 ride lines like by now? Maybe. Probably very close to that number. Yeah. Actually, I was just watching a video from Derek Dow where he's making a tier list, and yeah, there's a lot of ride lines right now, and most of them are, at least more than half of them are unsupported, or at least their support is not like as good. So, for example, we have Ocelar Jest and the starter decks from the Divines era, and those decks, they have been receiving some support. Actually, in Japan, there's a new promo card that supports Ocelar Jest, but actually it's not so good. And I think they could maybe create very good support for those decks and just include it into the main boxes and make those decks better. It seems like the Fated One cards triple rare are about $5. Yeah, well, I'm playing the Japanese format, and I think the price is way too different. Actually, Japanese format is extremely cheap compared to the English format. But yeah, Fated One cards are very not so expensive, but also not so cheap. I think they're kind of mid. The problem is the support. Support, especially promo cards, are very expensive. So again, by just making triple rares and double rares being direct support for the ride lines, it could be probably better, because that way maybe people commits to one ride line or two ride lines, and then the commons and rares could be just the generic cards that could be changed or included in as many decks as they want. Especially for new players, I think being able to access the generic cards is a very, very big deal. So yeah, that's as for the product. Now, for gameplay, the first thing I want to address is the ban list. And of course, I think everyone may agree here that broken interactions should be avoided for a healthy format. I believe that the standard format right now, it's in a very healthy spot. There's only probably one or two decks that are kind of very annoying. Shiranui being one of them. But in general, I think that the game itself is pretty balanced. There's many decks that actually have a very fair chance to actually win. It most of the time depends on how good a player is and how they manage their resources. I think the game right now is very skillful, except for the next point, and it's the Overtrigger. So first of all, I think Bushiroad should not hesitate on banning broken interactions. And one of my biggest issues is, for example, premium format. I've been trying to get into premium format, but right now there's so many very, very broken interactions, and it just makes it so difficult to get in. Just dealing your opponent one damage, it's basically game over for me if I just give them the wrong chances at the wrong moment. So premium can have very, very broken interactions, but also in a way it's kind of fun sometimes. So I think people that play premium format, they play it precisely because of that. They just like having a lot of chaos around. So yeah. However, the Overtrigger is something I really want to talk about. The standard format, as I mentioned, is one of the healthiest formats this game has had for a very, very long time. However, this one type of card is probably the one thing that is, in my view, gatekeeping people from entering this game, or at least for trying to go into competitive a little bit more. And yeah, like Orc is mentioning here, it's just a very weird thing. It's just a coin flip, and actually that's a point that I'm going to be addressing here. So I'm going to give you my experience from yesterday. As I mentioned when I started yesterday, this stream. Yesterday I went to 2 different locals, and I was trying to play my Harry deck. I was trying a new build, and my locals are kind of small. Both of my shops are kind of small. There's not so many people, maybe around 10 people going around. And I wanted to really have an experience to see what my deck is capable of. And what I encounter is, from 7 or 8 games I had yesterday, in 7 out of 8, my opponent checked Overtrigger, either defensive or offensive. And it feels so bad because you can finally see what you're doing. You have your strategy planned. You want to see how much hand you can take from your opponent. And then they take 1 damage, and that's it. Your turn is over. You cannot do anything else. You cannot even see or imagine what you're going to do next. You cannot even visualize the power you will be gaining. You cannot do anything, basically. The whole turn is shut down by 1 trigger. And of course, in one of those cases, my opponent, I was playing against Bab Sargra, and I was doing pretty well, and I got my opponent to 6 damage. The 6 damage was the Overtrigger. My turn ends. I had still 2 more attacks remaining. I couldn't attack. My turn was over. My opponent wins next turn. Of course, why not? The other turns, for example, I was playing against Black. Turn 3, my opponent, I'm still grade 2. My opponent has full board. Vanguard attacks. Overtrigger, everything gets extra critical, double power. I am grade 2, I lose. Magnolia, everything gets critical, everything gets 10,000 power, draw extra, heal, critical, and I lose. So over and over, these kind of things happen, and I actually ended up my day without being able to even test my deck because my opponent would just randomly win. So playtesting becomes really annoying. It's very difficult. And the biggest issue I think this has is, if you're in a tournament, you want to go there to test your skill. Now, imagine going to the tournament, having prepared for a very long time, and your opponents win because of just luck. I am very sure a lot of people that want to go to a tournament may feel discouraged because of this one reason. And honestly, I went to one of these tournaments before here in Japan, the Ultimate Vanguard tournament, and it happened to me. It happened to my teammate at the same time. We were both having a really good game that time, and because of that, we lost. Well, that time I didn't really have very good streak, but anyways, that it feels really bad. So I can imagine people trying to go to a tournament and almost getting there to the top cut, and then suddenly losing by just chance. So instead of that, why not just really ban Overtriggers? Just rework the idea. I think it's really cool to have a trigger that has this one extra effect. Maybe make it not as broken as they are. Like, for example, for some decks, getting extra 10,000 power and a critical may be too much. But just giving an extra thing, not like a draw trigger, not like a front trigger, not like a critical, just one extra effect, an extra buff, and just make it a one-off. Also, the power, it's like, come on, it has 50,000 shield. I think 50,000 shield is really good. I think it works very well for this game, especially now that there's a little bit more of power creep. This 50,000 really work. However, the biggest problem is you cannot guard an Overtrigger with an Overtrigger. And that's kind of an issue for me as well. And also, the 100 million power, there's no way. If you don't have, it's literally either PG or GG. That's as bad as it gets, right? So, of course, a well-timed Overtrigger can switch the game. If you're me, you will check Overtrigger either first turn on grade 1, where it has basically no effect, or you will just draw it, soul charge it, or not even see it. Just all of my games is just the bottom card of my deck. So yeah, I'm not salty about that. I mean, yes, but at the same time, I think it's very unfair for me and for my opponent to just win because, hey, I have better luck than you have. If they wanted to recreate this as an anime moment, sure, that's cool, I suppose. But for tournaments and for playtesting, this is a really, really bad thing. So yeah, it would be defensive outage just loses an attacking turn. It would be strong if it just gives one crit, front row 10,000, draw and heal without that one. Yeah, I mean, even giving so many effects is, I think, is kind of strong. Just one small effect, keeping Overtrigger as a one-off card for any deck. But instead of the 100 million, just 10,000 power, and that's it. The shield even can't stay the same. I think the Overtrigger idea itself is not bad. The problem is the power. If they want to have this extra one-off effect, sure, whatever, just not make it as broken, like double everything. So yeah, that's my take with Overtriggers. That's probably my whole rant about them. And finally, I would like to talk about communication. And this one is more about Bushiroad and the community. So the first thing is listen more to the community. I think many people may agree that the community of Vanguard itself is increasing a lot. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of VTubers. They have a lot of people in their streams. I think VTubers are doing an amazing job into spreading what this game is for more people. And also, I've been seeing not only VTubers but also a lot of YouTubers, new YouTubers doing content. There's some channels that are actually very interesting. They have very amazing communication skills and have very good takes. However, the problem is I still feel Bushiroad doesn't really listen to the community, and you can probably see this in the ban lists. Of course, they check the tournament results and they do ban lists based on that. But first of all, tournament results have bias, and one of them is, of course, the Overtrigger, which can give unfair wins to decks that really don't have that advantage, but also very strong decks and the top cuts, how they work, etc. But there's a lot of people in the community that are always talking about what interactions are very broken, the ideas they have, and Bushiroad just don't really listen to them. At least that's how I feel about it. I'm not saying it's true, but the way the ban list is reflected, it feels like maybe we're not being considered a lot. And also, I think supporting content creators, this is more part of the community section. I think, like I mentioned, there's a lot of content creators going on racing now, but I feel there's not so much community yet paying a lot of attention to them. Maybe most of the time just the biggest creators, like Different Fight, for example. He's probably the most famous one. Top Deck Hero is also a very good one. But yeah, guys, if you're watching live or if you are watching on YouTube, try to support your content creators. Maybe that way also this game can improve and increase more. I think this game is an amazing game. I would like this to succeed. And yeah, and talking about content creators, what do you think? Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Remember, you can follow me on Twitch. You can like, subscribe on YouTube, and leave your comments below. If you have any takes, if I said something that is completely wrong or I am delusional, feel free to let me know. This is a free world. You can tell me anything you want. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and see you around. So yeah,